It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. Low-key, that quote is really hitting hard for me right now. Charles Dickens might have been onto something, you guys. My goodness. And that was just when we were talking about The Tale of Two Cities, which came out in the 1800s. Now I feel like we could be talking about A Tale of Two Presidents, because low-key, I feel like President Trump is just not the same. I've made this claim a million times, and apparently I'm not the only one, because he's coming across like the war criminal, and a mad war criminal at that. Kind of feeling like Saul, you guys, the guy that tried to stop David. You know, God no longer favored Saul and chose David, chose a new leader, chose a new king. And I'm starting to realize, you know, it's kind of the story that we're living in. Between the scripture and Charles Dickens, I feel like we kind of got something to talk about, wouldn't you say?
We laugh at the bill, but the numbers don't lie. Do the joke, do the mad moral financer. Financer, 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 moral financer.
All right, you guys, welcome back to the podcast of Archie's Briefings. I'm your host, Arshel Branch. Of course, take the time to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell so that way you guys are always up to date when episodes are coming out. Remember, I do record 2 podcasts every single week, Tuesday and Thursday. If you guys would like to support the show, go ahead and cash at me at hashtag Arshel Branch. Just scroll up to the channel bio and you'll find the link to the Cash App there. And of course, you can subscribe and definitely get into the comment section. Stick with me as long as the video goes for it. That definitely helps with the algorithm and the support. So that's a good way of going about it. Okay, you guys, let's talk about it. What did I mean when I say the best of times and the worst of times? Why am I comparing Trump to the King Saul? And why is he no longer David? Like, what's really happening here? Well, because it seems to me like Saul, God is no longer favoring the orange man, not in the way that we all thought he was, and we saw in the first term. Why A Tale of Two Presidents? Because like I've claimed in previous videos, you guys, he's not the same guy. I don't know if it's because he's been possessed, low-key. I feel like that's what it is. But first term President Trump felt very much individualism. Like that's what it was. And right now it feels very much like collectivist. Like that seems to be his go around. And the people who constantly support everything that he does feels like, this is what the communists do. Like, okay. And no, before you guys say, Arshel, you're throwing out ad hominem attacks, you're saying people are communists, you sound like the left, Arshel, you're saying that people are just fascists and this. No, I mean, listen, you listen and you read enough by G. Edward Griffin and you kind of realize it's exactly what's happening. We're forgetting the reason for why we voted for the orange man to begin with, and we're just getting behind the man and the movement without realizing, but this is not what you voted for the first time, the second time, and the third time. Like, remember, like, right, okay? Like, during the first term, the left kept saying, the rich are getting richer, the rich are getting richer. But guess what? So did the poor. Like, low-key. Like, I wasn't rich in the first term, but I made more money. And I wasn't worried about extremism. Okay? That man said, do what you're going to do now, because I don't know how long I'm going to be here. I took every class I could possibly think of, you guys. I took bartending. I took real estate. I mean, I still bartend here and there, but I don't do the real estate thing. But the fact is I could because it was there. Just because the opportunity was there. He understood that Americans should not have to compete with an onslaught of legal immigration just because it was there. Like, they should not be able to do that. Americans should not have to struggle. We voted for someone who understood what Americanism was all about. The opportunity to try and better oneself. That it was always about protecting the individual liberty and opportunity of the American citizen. That's what that was about. Protecting our land, protecting our opportunity, our jobs, our businesses, prosperity, the right to try for prosperity, for goodness sakes. That is what he was about in the first term. That's why y'all voted for him, okay? That's why we voted for him this last time, because we understood that Biden's administration was not about that. We saw hyperinflation, okay? We saw prioritization of a group of people that were not even American. We saw us constantly being lumped in with the rest of the world that was not in the name of Jesus Christ. Like, that's what we were under with President Biden. That's just the complete opposite of what we wanted. And we thought that by voting for President Trump this time around, that we were going to get what we got in the first term. And that is not at all what we are getting. The man has gone mad. He's gone mad. And I'm feeling like the guy at a network. I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. But, of course, what is one YouTuber, one podcaster going to do? Our government doesn't fear the people anymore. That's obviously the problem. Or even our founders understood that. Like, if a government is ever not in fear of we the people, we kind of got problems here. I'm paraphrasing. They said it far more eloquently than I did. But essentially, that's really what that is. He does not care what he does. He does not care what he says. It's why he felt so bold, so brazen to truth about him wanting to destroy an entire civilization. And by the grace of God, he didn't. Because low-key, he feels like Saul. He feels like Saul. He's no longer David. Feels like you, me, the individual people that make up America, the American individual citizens that make up America, that make up we the people, we're the Davids, okay? We're the chosen ones. We're the ones that are going to save this country. We're the ones that actually have to do something about this guy. Like, we're the ones, okay? And low-key, I don't understand how those who are supporting President Trump don't see why this is a problem. And I'm going to show you a clip that pretty much says this is exactly what's wrong with the people who want to constantly defend him, okay? There was a debate that took place. It came out today, actually. I'm glad it came out today because it gives me something to talk about that wasn't about a few days ago. But there was a debate that came out. It was on Piers Morgan. It was with Dave Smith, and unfortunately, I don't know the other guy's name. I don't care to know his name. You guys probably know who it is. You guys get in the comment sections and let me know if you know who he is. I don't know. I really don't care. Honestly, I really don't care. I only care more about what he was trying to say. And what he was trying to say, I thought was absolute ludicrous. It was retarded to me. Absolute nonsense. I feel like anybody who takes his position is just spewing boulder dash. It's just, seriously, it's insane. So I'm going to go ahead before I go any further. Let me pull up this clip for you guys because it's insane. It's insane. And if you don't think it's insane, I don't even know. Let's just go ahead and let's run it, shall we? All right, guys, this is the clip here. It's with Dave Smith, obviously. I don't know who this gentleman is right here. So you guys, again, get in the comment sections and let me know. And let's run it, shall we?
Now, as a consequence of that, all hell broke loose, obviously, online. And Ben.
Okay, so before I let it go, let me just say this was recorded before the deadline was up. So they're speaking as if Trump hadn't already made his decision to bomb or not bomb. And that would explain why their language is the way that it is, okay? So let me just put that out there.
Ben Shapiro said about Dave, I'm sorry, but you hate the country if you say America is the worst terrorist organization in the world. You just
Ben
do.
Shapiro.
Dave has since
Irritates me.
responded to that on this show. But Ben, let's just get you to, because Dave's already explained what he meant about this.
Yeah.
And many people agree with it, right? And, you know, just to prep you up for this, you're about to defend the charge that America is not the world's worst terrorist organization within hours of Donald Trump posting to the world that a whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. But in the context of the words coming from the President of the United States, quite hard to argue that that is in itself, those words are not the words you would normally associate with the leader of a terrorist organization.
Yeah, look, I think two things about what the president said there. He's clearly talking to the leadership in Iran, and he's saying that you are going to destroy your people by not opening the Strait of Hormuz. I'm not screwing around. This goes back to FAFO.
Okay, before I let him go on, he saying that President Trump is saying that Iran would be responsible if he were to destroy their entire civilization. Abdication much, you guys? How many times have I said on this channel that it has been the American tradition for the better part of 100 years now? Abdication of responsibility, okay? If someone calls me the B word and I punch them in the face and get arrested for assault, whose fault is that? Is it the person who exercised their freedom of speech? Or is it my fault for violating their individual liberty and breaking the law and assaulting that individual? Because what right do I have to punch someone in the face and assault them because they exercised their right and called me a bad word? Like, that can't be my defense. Oh, it's because they called me a B word why I did it. Grow the F up. So it's Iran's fault if you nuke them off the face of the earth? Seriously, that's your defense? Retarded. It's retarded, you guys. It's retarded.
The President of the United States of America is using the same foreign policy that Hillary Clinton used, that Bill Clinton used, that Jimmy Carter used, and that Barack Obama used.
When did any of them threaten, Ben? When did any of them threaten?
Let me finish the point I'm going to make there real quick, because it's important. Right. This president, the only difference between his foreign policy with Iran and the other Democrats I mentioned was they all said that they couldn't get a nuclear weapon. And Donald Trump said, I am actually agreeing with you, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to stop them. And you cannot be a terrorist.
I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it there. It's just freaking bonkers. It's just... He's following the same foreign policy as Barack Obama, as Hillary Clinton, as Jimmy Carter. Now, to the MAGA people, because there's an obvious split between America First and MAGA. America First has obviously made the point this was never about the orange man. This was always about us. It was always about us, our liberties, our protection, our opportunities. That's what this was always about. It was never about the man. Now, MAGA, it seems to be about the man and that they are willing to defend the man. And that's not something that we should do, okay? Patriotism is not about supporting a president. That's not patriotism at all, okay? I believe that was a Thomas Jefferson quote. It goes on for a bit. You guys can Google it. I want to say it was Thomas Jefferson. I could be wrong. I know it was a founding father, but I do believe it was Thomas Jefferson's definition of the word of what patriotism really was. And it does kind of hit home for you guys because, like, right, this is about defending the man. This is not about defending Trump, okay? On his first side, he's saying Trump is being hyperbolic, that he says some pretty outrageous things, and that this was really just about trying to speak directly to the leaders of Iran to get them under control. You threaten to destroy their entire civilization so that way you can compel them to do something that they otherwise wouldn't have done. So you were trying to be a tyrant. Okay. Okay. Or on the other hand, you're going to be exactly like the previous tyrants, the previous war criminals, like Obama, like Hillary Clinton, like Bill Clinton, like Jimmy Carter. That's what you're saying? That's what you're saying. Understand, MAGA existed. The coalition of MAGA, that is now America First and MAGA because they're split down the middle now, exists because they wanted the complete opposite of that. First term, remember, he had a problem with the establishment. He had a problem with the Carters. He had a problem with the Obama types, with the Clinton types, with the Cheney types, okay? This man was bringing people home. This man was ending wars. This man was making everybody rich. This man was protecting individual liberty. Like, yo, I can say Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. To hell with that Happy Holidays Boulder Dash. Like, that was Trump. You have the right to exercise your religious freedom. You have the right to free speech, not from me, not from the state, but from God himself. What right does the state have to say you can't say Merry Christmas? That was Trump, individualism. That's what MAGA was supposed to be about. That's what America First is about. That's what Trump's presidency, his candidacy into his presidency, at least in the first term, that's what that represented. And he's not that anymore, okay? He's not that. He's no longer that same guy. He's doing exactly what the other war criminals have done. Which, what more does MAGA have to hear before they realize he ain't the same guy? Like, I've been saying this for some time now. Really, that's all you guys I wanted to show you from this clip, low key. Like, if you guys want to watch the whole thing, I implore you to go and watch it. Dave Smith was fantastic, but you know who he is. You know what he thinks in this regard. I just wanted to show you, like, like MAGA. Like, is this your guy? Really? Trump is your guy? This is your guy. Like, yo, low-key, I feel like Michael B. Jordan right out of Black Panther. Is this your king? This your king, Wakanda? This your king? Right. Like, yo, come on. I'm going to come out of this. All right, you guys. So you saw that. You heard that. There's really no more that I need to show you. I mean, there are other clips. I can go on and on and on. People that used to support him that are no longer supporting him. Obviously, there's Marjorie Taylor Greene. She was on CNN recently. Tucker Carlson just pretty much exposed, if you didn't already know, prior to his video, about how Israel is messing with the ceasefire between us and Iran. That there is an opportunity for Iran and the United States to no longer have any serious conflict. That there is an opportunity for peace here, to forgive and forget. Maybe not forget, maybe not even necessarily forgive, because low-key, I don't trust the Muslim faith for obvious reasons. The Quran says that they can lie to us. So really only time will tell. But, hey, it's a start. That's how I feel about it. And Israel doesn't want that. They want to continue to go to war. They terrorized Lebanon, okay, violating the ceasefire. It is Iran that has control over the strait, which that gentleman goes on to say that they have no right to control, as if we have a right as America to tell other countries that they have no right to bear arms the way they see fit. Like, yo, what right do we have to do that? Yo, this was the guy who was all about sovereignty and individual liberty and making sure that the individual had what they needed. That's what this was about. That's what both candidacies were about. That's what they were both about. Only one presidency, however, managed to maintain that with the deep state intact. The man managed to make sure the American people feel like that they were heard, and not only feel like it, but we felt the difference. Like, it was obvious. And, you guys, I always find myself listening to G. Edward Griffin when I, see that we're headed down the wrong path and we find ourselves in these meaningless wars. And every war is a banker's war. And listening to G. Edward Griffin, all I can come down to is, like, both the Democrats and the Republicans managed to find themselves in the same problem. It's why, as the American people, you don't see any real differences when you vote Democrat or Republican, because they're both filled and riddled with the same damn problem: collectivism. Seriously. Do you want a government for and of and by the people? Do you want a government that protects its citizens and acknowledges where its limitations are? Or do you simply want a government to provide everything so they can take everything and make decisions and not giving a damn about what you think? Because that's exactly what's happening right now. It is not what we believe in. You realize that the U.S. Constitution may be the only constitution in the world? I know, at least compared to the United Nations Constitution, we have the right for a lot of things that are intrinsic, given to us by God, not by the state. And the state is actually told within the Constitution, you're not allowed to do that or that or that. But the citizen can do all of this, whereas all other constitutions in Europe specifically kind of say, yeah, now you have the right to do these things as long as the state says you can. Look at the difference. Do you think Trump is moving that way today? How can you stand by and defend him? I'm talking to you, B. Tatum. Talking to you, Black Conservative Perspective. Talking to you, ABL. I love your work, ABL. Don't get me wrong. I think individually you guys are remarkable. But see what I'm saying? As individuals, you guys are remarkable. The moment you play the collectivist game, the moment you get behind the orange man just because he's the orange man, the moment you get behind MAGA just for the sake of it and not really look at why did you vote for the man in the first place? Why did you, as a man, as a woman, vote for the orange man? Did you vote for him because you wanted a war in Iran? Or did you vote for him because you wanted someone who would protect your individual interests as an American citizen from big tech, from big government like the deep state, from the swamp creatures, right? We all know what we don't want. We don't want communism from the left. That's obvious. We all don't want Islam to take control. We all don't want foreigners deciding how we govern ourselves. What we want is a government that protects its citizens. Because now it comes down to the question that Gio Griffin constantly asks the American people who watch him. What is the responsibility of a government? A government is supposed to protect the individual liberties of its citizens. And they cannot do what we as individuals cannot do. I don't have the right to take away your right to bear arms as an individual. Why should the government have the right to take somebody else's right to bear arms away? I have the right to defend my liberty, to defend my property, to defend my life. Beyond those things, the government cannot do beyond that either. Why should they get any special treatment? Because they're the American government and they're different from any other empire to have existed? Are you kidding me? That's retarded. If that is the position that MAGA is taking, ask yourself, was that the reason you voted for him back in 2016? Because a decade ain't that long. It's not that long. I know you remember why you voted for the guy. I'm asking MAGA to remember why you voted for him. And ask yourself, is that the guy you have today? A tale of two presidents. Best of times, worst of times. Charles Dickens was onto something. Let me know in the comment sections, you guys, and tell me what you think about everything that I have just said. You guys know why you voted for him. You know why. And I think that if you pulled yourself away from the collective and looked at your own individual interests, ask yourself, is this really the guy you would have voted for if you knew in hindsight this is what you were going to get? Just feel like that's the question you should be asking. Because been there, done that. I called it a while ago. So let me know in the comment section, you guys. Okay, share this video, like this video, all that good stuff. Thank you guys for sticking with me to the end of the episode. If you did get to the closing, of course, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell so that you guys are always up to date when episodes are coming out. You can, of course, support the show by Cash Apping me at #RShellBranch. Just go ahead to the bio of the channel, scroll up. You'll see the cash tag directly in the bio, of course, there. So let me know. Support the show. You can do that by subscribing, of course, sharing, liking, the whole 9. I love you guys. Have a wonderful night. God bless. And, of course, because it's me, Kepler.